Chapter 27, 0 Hour. I left the house wondering about Madeline Zhang's terrible accident. Had she been driving drunk? Marcos was still running cars in the gravel, shading his eyes from the sunlight. He cast me a wary glance. Was it hard going back there? At first it was, till I got inside. It's nothing like home anymore. He gazed mournfully toward the backyard. There's nobody for me to play with now. I wish Punky hadn't died. Me too. I tousled his hair and hurried past. Early on, Marcus had spied on Punky out of curiosity, and I'd labeled him the bratty Gregory kid. How wrong I'd been. With a sinking feeling, I realized that I'd been wrong too in getting rid of my parents' most prized antiques. I wanted Mom's rocking chair from the Narramore's attic. I wanted her china cabinet from the antique shop, and the highboy in the old seaman's chest where Dad had stored all his junk. Was it too late to buy them back? I glanced at Bruno, riding close to my heart. I wanted to keep him forever, sitting in that rocking chair. Forget that, I whispered and removed his left eye. The thread was so old that only a few twists on the bottom made it pop off in my hand. I dropped it in the pocket of my jeans. Looking straight ahead, I let my thoughts circle around Heidi. Her mother's name was Zhang, not Grissom. Had she divorced Heidi's father? Had she ever even been married to him? Was the man really on a secret mission? Or was he a carpenter or a bookkeeper or a telephone lineman? I finally decided it didn't matter. What mattered was that I'd been unfair to Heidi. I'd brushed off her efforts to be my friend. Part of the problem had been the house, but that was no excuse now. That left teenage rivalry, two girls liking the same boys. Could I be friends with Heidi if she kept after Tree? Maybe. Wasn't I the girl he'd kissed on the forehead? Wasn't I Velveeta, the spicy kind with jalapeno peppers? Wasn't I his all-weather friend? The door to Madeline Zhang's room was closed, but I could hear Heidi reciting a rhyme about whippets and snippets and a bucket in Nantucket. When she finished, I tapped lightly on the door. Who is it? Dalrita Jensen. Silence. Seconds later, Heidi opened the door just enough to slip through it, then drew it shut behind her and kept her hand on the knob. The bow in her hair matched the sparkly blue in her t-shirt and accented the blue of her eyes. Hi, she said with a tentative smile at her as her gaze flickered from Bruno to my face. Hi, Heidi, could we talk? In the room? Talk about what? About you and me, and how sorry I am about your mom. The color drained from her face as she fell back against the door. You know? She whispered. I know. She twisted the knob, letting her weight on the door pull her into the room. I followed her inside, where the hissing of the machine sounded like a tea kettle about to sing. A coldness crept into my bones when I saw Madeline Zhang, close up, with a treasury of nursery rhymes leaning against her pillow. She was still lying on her back, but today her eyes were open, unseeing. At the end of her chestnut braid was a blue bow that matched Heidi's. I realized that Heidi's painting in sepia tones was a picture of her mother. Heidi motioned for me to take the chair while she propped her backside against the windowsill. I inched the chair around to face her, sat on it, adjusted my jeans at the knees, situated Bruno on my lap, and cleared my throat. I was stalling, and Heidi knew it. She was gripping the windowsill with both hands and staring holes through me. You're, probably wondering what I'm doing with this teddy bear, I said. No, I'm wondering how you found out about my mother. Your grandma told me. She slumped against the window and scuffed one sneakered foot back and forth on the carpet until someone went by whistling in the hall. I thought I'd be safe telling that story about Mother in Europe, she said. In Arkansas, all the kids knew the truth, but when we moved here, I figured nobody would ever have to know. I mean, how many teenagers hang out in a nursing home? Quite a few in Tanglenook since Teen Buddies got started. I know that now, said Heidi, her voice flat and lifeless. I didn't know it then. All at once she straightened up, crossed her arms, and stared at me, her blue eyes smoldering. I just wanted to make a fresh start. I'm tired of feeling ashamed, of having kids laugh behind my back. That threw me for a loop. What brand of kids would laugh about a crippling car accident? Mother was in a rehab center 3 times, once for each divorce. The last time, she swore to me she'd never buy another drink. Oh, she kept her promise not to buy liquor, but she bartered for it in the Ozark Mountains. Photographs for homemade whiskey, moonshine. The moonshine poisoned her. My mouth dropped open, and Heidi realized she'd said too much. You didn't know that? She croaked. No, your grandma said accident, so I thought she meant a car wreck. I guess you would, considering what happened to your parents. My thoughts are reeling. Moonshine? White lightning? Rot gut? Men in the Ozarks have been breaking the law to brew it and drink it for generations. It didn't make sense that it had poisoned Heidi's mother. Heidi saw the question in my eyes. It's lead poisoning, she said. Lead from the old car radiators used as condensers in the stills. Steam deteriorates the solder and leaches out the lead. The sheriff said it could have leached out from any one of the stills or all of them. The sheriff? Yeah, he knows the stills are there, but they're hidden so well he can't find them. Isn't that a kick? The sheriff can't find the stills, but Mother did. In a way, at least. She got the liquor. How? Call it the mountain grapevine. When a woman saw her neighbor's photo, she wanted one of her family too, and she'd sent word to Mother. The deals were all hush-hush under the table because the women paid off in moonshine. Then how did you find out? Mother had a logbook in her car. Hattie looked away from me then and scraped at the polish on her fingernails. I doubted the kids in Arkansas had laughed at her situation. Most likely it was all in her head. I was sure of it when she said defensively, "We didn't know any of this until it was too late. We thought Mother had the flu and couldn't get over it, but we couldn't make her go to the doctor. She was vomiting, not eating, not acting like herself. She got real bad headaches and couldn't remember things. Then she went into convulsions and a coma. Is it permanent? Maybe not. If they can flush the lead out of her system, maybe she might always have nerve damage. But she might always have nerve damage." I stroked Bruno absently and wondered, what kind of life will she have if she ever wakes up? Heidi shifted her position and a sunbeam lit the bow in her hair. I thought of her pinning the bow in her mother's hair, of reading nursery rhymes, of keeping the dream alive. I heard that hissing, like a tea kettle about to sing. "I suppose everybody in Tangle Nook will know the story now," Heidi said in the dark tone of defeat. "They won't hear it from me." Her face perked up. "You're not going to tell?" "Nope. But you know what? I think you'd feel better if you told it yourself. Then you can stop worrying about getting caught. When Avenel moved to Tangle Nook, she bent over backwards to keep a secret that her dad was in prison. Tree told the whole football team. Telephone, television, and tell a tree, Heidi said. So Tree had let her in on the joke. Jealousy pricked my heart, and I realized being friends with her was going to be harder than I thought. "Del Rita, all that stuff about my dad, I just want you to know it's sort of true." Sort of true? Was that like sort of going to Europe? With Heidi, who was so flamboyant about everything, maybe the truth was always out in left field somewhere. I had a feeling that even if her father was a window washer, she'd have him polishing panes on the Empire State Building. She said, "When Nana and Gramps found out Mother would need long-term care, they moved here so I could be close to Dad. He's in the OSI, Office of Special Investigations, at Whitman Air Force Base. It's not exactly a secret mission, but he travels a lot and he can't talk about his work." I stared at a cobweb stuck in the strings of my sneaker. Heidi's tale about her mother was understandable, but the one about her father was harder to accept. How easy it would be to blab the truth and tarnish Heidi's image. And then, in my mind, I saw her as a turtle on a fence post, paddling thin air all by herself. This was 0 hour. I could lift her down, or I could leave her stuck on the post. I drew a deep breath and said, "Sounds like a secret mission to me. Del Rita, Thanks." I shrugged and stood up. Since I was in the turtle helping business, I gave it one more shot. "Heidi, I've got lots of tools in basswood. Come over to my house tomorrow and we'll see what you can do. "Do you mean it? You'll give me some pointers on carving?" "You've got it," I said, then pointed my nose at the door and headed for it before I could change my mind.